All right, good morning. Welcome to the weekly take on the market. It is Friday, April 18th. The market is closed today for the holiday. I'll be your host. My name is Scott St. Clair. I'm the manager of the Premium Product Group here at Investors Business Daily. You guys know the drill with the disclaimer. Take a moment. All right, so I'll go through the indices. We'll look at the industry groups a little bit and some stocks to watch, and then, of course, the quote of the week. So from market sentiment, I think is the who tweeted this, when the VIX goes above 50 and then finally closes below 30 for the week. You've had four signals in the last 30 years or so, and they've been very good signals, and we got that this week, I believe. I believe the VIX did close below 30 on Thursday. We can look. So sentiment is extreme to the fear/negative side, which should portend for the potential for a rally. Historically, it does. I guess this time could be different. It could not be the case. That's possible. You've only had four other instances on something like this. They were very good signals. But I will say that the market was down a lot more on those. Like you have the 87 crash, you have the tech wreck in 2002-ish. You've got the great financial crisis in 08, 09, and you've got the COVID bust in 2020-ish. So, market came down a lot more. I know the NASDAQ did go down 20%. I don't believe the S&P has. So it's kind of strange to me that sentiment has gotten so bad for so long, so close to all-time highs. But I don't want to ignore that. This is kind of one of the things that keeps me from being heavy or short, because technically I don't like the way the market's acting. It looks like it's acting pretty poorly, but I'm fearful of a rally due to extreme sentiment that everyone's kind of on one side of the boat. If these numbers are, if these things are measuring what people are actually doing, I guess there's what they're saying, what they say, and what they do. It doesn't always have to be the same. Jeff Weniger on Twitter. I liked this. Well, this chart's a little busy, but what it tells me is he's taking the VIX, the AAII, the Investors Intelligence, combining all of them, and you're looking at the highest reading on record in 1,841 instances going back to 1990. So really extreme fear using those indicators, and you have a lot of data points. So very interesting. Will it matter? I don't know. In the end, I'm going to let the market drag me in with either good stock action or good index action, or a little bit of both. But I'm wary of being short. I do have a couple of short positions, but I'm just wary of being heavy short because of sentiment. All right, let's pull up the indexes. I'm going to turn off my camera so you can see the charts a little better. So here's the NASDAQ. And so here's your day one, day two, day three was the big day on the tweet, day 4, day 5, day 6. So this could have been a fall today. It was up enough, 2%, but the volume was not there. The next day, it looked like we had a possibility near the end of the day of a fall through day, but we didn't finish up enough, 0.64%. The volume would have qualified, but the percentage gain didn't qualify. And then you had a little sell-off. So here, technically, we're below all the moving averages. It just looks like a market that's not going anywhere, but it's a long way from testing these lows. I think you have to go down about 8 or 9% to test those lows. So we're just kind of in the counting phase. I think we're at day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think day 10 would be Monday. And we could have a fall today on Monday. We could have one on Tuesday. We could have one on Tuesday of next week. As long as we stay in this range, you have the possibility of a fall through day. The NASDAQ is kind of the weak sister, though. Look at the relative strength. So if we're going to get a fall today and it's going to be real, I'm not sure where the leadership is going to come from. It's not going to come from the NVIDIAs of the world. They could go up, but I think we need new leadership. So it might take some time to really kind of get that leadership. The S&P, same thing. You can see the S&P is just a little stronger than NASDAQ. S&P was up 0.13 and NASDAQ was down maybe 0.13 or something. Yeah. Oh gosh, exactly that. So it's very subtle, but you're seeing more strength in the S&P versus the NASDAQ. IBIT, this looks like a little double bottom-ish. I don't know if I'm going to buy Bitcoin, but I wouldn't want to be short it. It's holding up pretty good. Gold looks very climactic to me. I think this is kind of in the midst of a climax top. I know it's hard to see. Like if I were to, let's go to best fit. And if I were to draw like a channel line, you can see like it's exceeding that channel line. Now, I am short just a little bit of gold because I feel like it's kind of a lot of my podcasts were like, oh, gold's to like they were bombastic. They were crazy for gold. A lot, gold's going to the moon, gold's doing this, the big debt crisis, that all of the podcasts seem like it's like everybody's all in on gold. Cover of The Economist is I think it was I don't know if it was a dollar bill on fire or whatever, but it was a negative sentiment versus the dollar. This feels like a crowded trade to me, but I don't know. I've been there before. Like I was very, very certain that this, like that was however I wanted to draw it. I was like, this is the short. And when it did that, I shorted it, but I just couldn't stay the course. I just couldn't stay the course of shorting it and being there when it finally broke. And so it's a matter of position sizing and maybe having to try 2 or 3 times. But that's, to me, that gold looks in that realm. I could be wrong, but that's the way I see it. All right, let's go to the industry groups. And mining, gold, silver, number 1, no surprise. Tobacco, 2. Aerospace defense is very interesting to me. There's a lot of good stocks there. And the story is like, I can tell you, like I have a bias that like, what are you going to make in aerospace defense? Just doesn't seem like you can make a lot there. And the truth was you could. There was some really good stocks in that group. There's a German one called Renminbi or Rheinmetall that, it's up 140% from this pivot. TATT, and I'll do a little bit of stocks to watch based on this. Mark Minervini tweeted that he was in this. Daily, look at the daily action. Really strong price action on Thursday. ESLT kind of has that high tide flag spirit, but up 90% from the pivot. So again, the signal was there. I just ignored it because, I was like, how am I going to make a bunch of money in aerospace defense? Well, I just had to be a little bit more patient. And instead of going 100 miles an hour in the stocks, you go 40 miles an hour and you just ride the wave. And so the market will tell you where the money's going. You just have to be willing to listen. Sometimes I don't listen. Banks Foreign acting really well. I do own stock in that group. But you can see this one looks BAESY breaking out, doing well. So industry groups they do their job. You have to kind of go through them once a week, if not at least every other week. And sometimes, like tobacco, I have to be honest, I'm not going to buy any tobacco stocks. So if they go to the moon, I'm just going to have to be okay with that I missed that. But, it's like Banks Foreign is like, why would I buy a foreign bank? Well, something's going on there. The market is telling me that money is flowing there. And big money owns some of them, so maybe I ought to give it a try. Own 1 or 2 and see if it can work. So industry groups. All right, and then so stocks to watch. I did show those some of those the aerospace ones. Well, I might as well Banks Foreign, GGAL. very weird kind of cup with handle. To me, I bought it like that. Undercut those lows and came back really fast. Very kind of unconventional buy, but I wanted a little bit of exposure there. Druckenmiller Duquesne Capital has a position in it, and so that's how I own it. Hopefully, it'll build a little bit more sideways. You can get kind of a cup with handle. Looks a little bit more conventional on the daily, but if it just doesn't go anywhere, you might have kind of a cup with handle here. There's a possibility. And either the whole area, like Argentina's acting really well. Look at the relative strength, right into new high. So there are some world markets that are holding up much better. Poland, look, who's going to buy Poland? Maybe, maybe not. I've bought it before, but look at the relative strength into new high. Germany, relative strength, new high. Let's look at like emerging markets. Not so much, not because it has a really big Chinese component, but like India, IFN. So it's been in a bear market for a while, but I know some of the Indian banks are starting to perk up. So maybe this is a possibility. But again, money's going to go where it's treated best. So it will find a home. It's got to go somewhere. The money never leaves, right? Either it goes into bonds or it goes into stocks or it goes into venture capital or it goes into world markets. It goes somewhere. So it's kind of our job to find out where it's going. And then secondarily, if we can participate with a good risk reward trade. Am I able to evaluate the risk? Am I able to protect myself if I'm wrong? Maybe some of the places the money would go would be a little bit more difficult. But the money's going to go somewhere, so you're always on kind of the Easter egg hunt to find out where it's going. RBRK. So you've got a double bottom here. New name. This is be high on my watch list if we get a follow through day. So there are some names out there. It's the market. The good thing of the market here, if we had a fall today on Monday or Tuesday or next Tuesday, I think there are some areas that you could go to get some exposure. It's Netflix is probably going to break out on Monday, or at least try to. I think it was 1,002 in after hours on Thursday. So there's areas to go. And now we're just kind of in wait and see mode with the market. I don't think it's going to be the NVIDIAs of the world. Relative strength 33. Now, NVIDIA is a great company. They've got a lot of cash. They got a lot of this. They got a lot of that. But gosh, the heart sure looks out of the mountain. Look at the monthly chart. Now, just because it's gone up so much doesn't mean it has to go down so much. But as far as like upside potential, it just seems like it's the heart's out of the melon a little bit on there. So you got NVIDIA's underperformer. Tesla seems like a really bad underperformer. I am short both of those, Tesla and NVIDIA. Those are the two stocks I'm short with esoterically through ETFs by shorting, double long ETFs is my favorite way to do that. Just looks like an underperformer. Apple, underperformer. Amazon, gosh, underperformer. Google, and rinse and repeat, underperform. They all look, besides Netflix, I don't know if they still consider Netflix as far as the thing. They all look pedestrian at best, terrible at worst. So if I do it, I know this is the levered one, but you can see it's down 57% off the high and just doesn't look good at all. The other one, unlevered, that doesn't look good at all either, right? So I just feel like this group, the money's going to go someplace different. It's going to find a home somewhere else. Not sure I know exactly where, but I think that's going to be the case. So it'd be our job to find that out, to kind of figure out where the market's switching to, if it does switch. What else is there as far as leadership? Maybe Palantir is holding up okay. So you could manufacture like a little double bottom here. So of the old leadership, so to speak, this one's probably okay to go back to, wait and see. But like App, that looks broken. That's not a stock I would go to. So a lot of them like Bros, just okay, not great. Hood, I mean, I do see the double bottom here, and it's the jury's still out. It's possible that it still works, but I think it was IBKR. They didn't like the report, stock gap down, so that put a little pressure on the group. What about like Hims? You know, I that looks totally broken to me. Could it come back? Sure, but just not a good chart at all. So you can see how the market's voting, right? Some of them they're so why RBRK comes back, Hims doesn't. So slowly but surely, the market will kind of show you where the potential leadership is. And if the market's really bad, they're just not going to go up, but then maybe they'll stop going down. And eventually the market will change next week, next month, next year. It always does. And you just have to kind of listen to the message of the market on which ones are going to be the go-to ones. So you've got the Growth 250. You've got the industry groups, the William O'Neill screen. You could run like an RS line. The RS line blue dot would be fine, but like the RS line within 5% screen. So like if I go to add favorites, oops, not, and I want to go to screens, my screen. And I don't know which, I have two accounts, so maybe I'm not logged into the correct one. But there's like a RS line. I thought I had an RS line within 5% screen. I would use that. So screen for stocks with the RS line within 5% of new high. That'd be a good place to look. Okay. So let's go to the quote of the week. Jim Rogers, author, worked with the Soros, great track record at Soros Money Management. He was in Market Wizards. I think he was in the original. Those who cannot adjust to change will be swept aside by it. Those who recognize change and react accordingly will benefit. I think it's a perfect quote for where we are in the market. The market is changing, I think. The leadership is changing. The big tech stocks feel waterlogged. They feel like the change is finally here. I've thought that for a while. They've been overowned. You know, I've mentioned the whole Swiss National Bank, Norwegian sovereign wealth fund with 10% position in Nvidia. I just don't think there's anybody left to buy those stocks. Maybe they don't have any selling pressure, but it takes buying pressure for them to go up, like Bill would say. And so looking for the change. The market's going to change. It's going to find new leadership. Maybe it's overseas. Subtle changes of that. Is that real? Well, I don't know. The longer it goes on, the more real it can be. So I've got that ETF on my screen. I talked about the international small cap one. Watch Argentina, watch other world ETFs. And you just have to kind of recognize the change, and you got to be willing to believe it. Believe what you see, not what you think. So as the market's changing, as stocks are starting to get closer and closer to new highs, that's the leadership. And you got to be willing to change with it. Okay. I was going to do a Peter Lynch quote, but then I saw that Jim Rogers one and liked that one better. So ignore that previous one. That was me just messing up. 800-831-2525, market surge at investors.com. Next week is next week the last Friday of the month? I'm not sure if we're doing Take on the Market next Thursday, probably, or maybe the 1st of May, which is a Thursday. So I don't know. Maybe I'll be back next week. Maybe I won't. But contact us if you have any questions. Oh, tomorrow Saturday, we have the Academy. It's not recorded. I know some of you want it recorded. I apologize. We record so many webinars that there's plenty that will be very similar that you can watch at your convenience. This is just kind of a live event, kind of trying to replicate the old school way where we would go out on the road and talk to people on Saturday mornings. So if you can make it, great. If you can't, we'll do another one. I do one every quarter. So Saturday around 8:30, I think 8:30 Pacific time tomorrow, kind of a training session. So that whole 5% RS line new high, I'll show you how to add that to your favorites because I'll probably do that tomorrow since it's not in there. So if you can make it, great. It's about an hour and a half. And if not, then there'll be another one, or email us and we can send you some links on webinars that'd be very similar if you want training on how to use the screener or how to use the Blue Dot list or whatever it might be. All right, have a great, long, enjoyable holiday weekend, and we'll see some of you tomorrow, and we'll see the rest of you next week. Bye-bye.